Hi, this is the end of day 1 of the Ideate Design Thinking Moderator training. And yes, you have probably guessed it. If you don't design your workshop, then probably you won't be very successful. You're going to be looking as sad as this guy here. But one of the questions people are always asking me, well, it's a Design Thinking Moderator training, and how does the workshop, Billboard Design Thinking Workshop, actually map to these 5 phases: emphasize, define, ideate, prototype, and test? Is this a strict sequence? Can we mix them any way we want? So what does that mean? Because here's an example. If you look at the Billboard Design Thinking Workshop, yes, this is the result. So just to give you an idea how you can mix all of these different design thinking phases in your workshop, let's look at an example. Here's the workshop we're planning for tomorrow. Step 1, define. Workshop challenges: how can we make knowledge sharing more appealing for theater employees, and how can we make knowledge sharing part of everyday work life in theater? Next step is we're going to emphasize, and we're going to think about all the problems people have today with knowledge sharing. Maybe the solution could be as simple as that: is working in a multinational company, language is a real big problem when it comes to knowledge sharing. Yeah? We don't know. Which brings us to the define phase, and we're going to ask, okay, what are the 1, 2, or 3 most compelling problems that we found and we want to solve in designing our solution? Next, we're going to go to the emphasize phase, because we also want to include what is the working context. How does the work context influence the way we do knowledge sharing today? So this brings us back to defining, and now we're going to ask the question is, how and who is involved in knowledge sharing, looking for all the people that have a stake in the knowledge sharing. But the define thinking we're looking for is we're going to be looking for the one group that's going to probably have the biggest benefit if we increase knowledge sharing in the future. So this is going to bring us to the second define phase. And for this group that will have the biggest benefit, we want to define a persona, a role, so we can actually talk about it and just see if our idea makes sense in the end of the day. Next, we're going to go back to define phase, and now we're going to look at the complete process. Yeah, we have here process start, and process end. Where does design thinking start and where does design thinking end? And then we're going to go into vertical cutting apart this complete process, and this we're going to emphasize for each of these individual steps and asking, well, what's preventing us for the first step to have better knowledge sharing? And that's going to bring us to ideation phase. And the ideation phase is going to be, let's talk about some solution, do some kind of sketching, how we can improve the situation. So we're going to have emphasize, ideate, emphasize, ideate, emphasize, ideate. We're going to have this 5 times after each other. And what this is going to bring back to us is, well, it's going to create a prototype. And the prototype is the story that we're telling here on the bottom, and it's going to be connected directly to the process. So the prototype consists of the process and also of the solution that we are proposing. So now we want to test it, and the first sanity test that we're going to do is we're going to try to tell a complete story. Here the knowledge sharing starts. These are the typical process we have. In here is the end, and we're going to use a prototype or sketches to kind of try to tell the story. Which is going to bring us back to the prototyping phase, because now we say, okay, now if we look at the complete story, what can we improve? What can we do better? And we're simply going to annotate our prototype. Maybe we're going to draw 1 or 2 new sketches, which brings us to a second sanity test. And this sanity test is going to be, let's tell the complete story in the context with the persona we defined up front. So we're going to also look if that still makes sense in the major user group that they're trying to help. Next, this brings us to emphasize, and what we want to do is now we want to go back and think about compelling arguments why I as employee should use this new knowledge sharing tool, whatever that is, or process, because in the end I need to find an argument, otherwise we're going to create a new knowledge sharing whatever no one's going to use. Basically we will be wasting money. Which brings us back to the define phase, because now since we have 3 compelling arguments why end users should use it, we need to ask or answer the question is, what's the value proposition? Why should anyone invest into this idea? So show me the money. That's the motto of this next define phase. Now this brings us almost to the end of the workshop, and again it's about define. What are we defining? We want to define a project plan, project description, business values, KPIs, project sponsors, to-dos, tasks, what do we need to do in order to start a project, and maybe some blockers, whatever it is. Maybe we have no project sponsor, then that would be a blocker. And this is going to bring us back to the testing again. So what we're going to test now is we're going to go to the coffee machine, grab someone who has 10 minutes time, bring it into the room, tell him the story, and just ask, does that make sense to you? And if his answer is, well, I'm not sure, well, probably your workshop was not a real big success. But at least you were able to verify that this first idea was not great. If he says, yes, that's cool, well, everything's fine. The last thing is we're going to test that our workshop always are built on deliveries. The two things we want to deliver is we will explain why our company culture is not fully supporting knowledge sharing today. So we can ask the guy again, do you actually believe that? This is our argument. And we're going to show him the project plan. Do you actually think this could work? So you have seen multiple ways of using these different steps. If we just go it from back to front, we had testing, defining, emphasizing, testing, prototyping, ideation, emphasizing, defining, emphasizing, emphasizing, and the first defining, yeah. And if you actually take these technologies or these ideas, you can have a really nice workshop, and you can be a happy design thinking moderator. So I really think design rocks.